皆様、こんにちは。
こんにちは。
SBI 証券ファンドアナリストの川上です。本日は成長国の一つとして皆様の関心が高いインドについて最新の情報をお伝えしてまいります。トランプ 2.0 時代におけるインド株式投資戦略とはと題しまして、ピクテアセットマネジメントのｉTrου스tインド株式の運用担当者でありますプラシャントコタリさんにお話を伺います。プラシャントさん、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
それでは、まず、プラシャントさんから自己紹介をお願いいたします。
Hello, I'm Prashant Kothari. I manage the iTrust India Equities Fund. I'm based out of London and I'm visiting Japan. Very happy to be here.
まずはじめに、インド株式の長期のリターンですけども、ご覧のように世界株式を大きく上回るパフォーマンスとなっています。しかし、この1年ですけども、昨年の秋頃からの調整局面がありまして、インド株式、これ対円ベースとなりますけども、パフォーマンスは伸び悩んでいると、日本人の投資家は感じている状況でございます。この点について、日本の投資家はどう考えればいいのか、コメントいただけますでしょうか。
Sure. So as you can see, the long-term returns in India have been pretty powerful going back the last 10 or even last 20 or 25 years. But it has not been a straight line. The equity markets being more sentiment driven, they would be volatile, and that's what we have seen. Now, as investors, it's very easy to get nervous whenever markets fall. And what we did was to try to understand how the markets have behaved post corrections. So if you go back in the last 25 years, there are 25 such instances when markets fell by 15% or more in a matter of 6 months. And what we try to then think about is what would happen if you were to invest at that exact point of time. And the results were very impressive, both in terms of the returns you would make and also the chances that you will make money. Okay, so the chance of making money in 1 year after that was 68%, and going up to 92% in 3 years, and going to like 100%. All the cases you actually made money in a 5-year period or a 10-year period after that correction. And the returns were also very healthy. Like the average return you made was 28% for 1 year, 64% for 3 years, and going in triple digits for next 5 and 10 years.
ありがとうございます。やはりこのインド株式というのは、長期で考えますと、過去、3年でもマイナスリターンとなった回数は2回ですし、5年後、10年後となると、0ということで、やはり調整局面というのは、過去のデータではやっぱりエントリーポイントだったというところになりますね。続きまして、皆様の関心が高いトランプ政権の関税政策がインド経済に与える影響について教えていただけますでしょうか。
Sure. So see, Trump policies, there are definitely some negatives to be aware of. India is among one of the largest countries having trade surplus with US. And also the tariffs which are proposed initially, 26% is much higher than what it used to be earlier at 2.8%. And there's also a fear that these high tariffs will result into currency devaluations happening across the world. And India might also get caught up in these. Now, interestingly, if you have to think about the positives which are coming out of it, the positives are that India is actually a very domestic demand-driven economy, and therefore the impact is actually not that high. Okay, and the tariffs imposed on other countries is actually much higher. Like China is having more than 100% tariff, and Vietnam is having more than 40% tariff. So India is actually placed better than that. And third factor is that India is actually negotiating very quickly, and there are announcements on both sides now saying that a trade deal between US and India should be signed up very soon. If you were to look at some of the analysis which our economists did in terms of the impact on the economy, then Indian economy actually has a very little impact because it is high consumption driven. So as per our analysis, the impact on GDP, even if these tariffs were to come true, for which there is low probability anyway, it's only about 0.1% of GDP. So we think India is largely immune from this tariff situation.
はい、よくわかりました。トランプ課税の GDP のインパクトというのは非常に小さいということです。日本もこれ意外と小さいですけども、インドはさらに小さいということになっております。続きまして、こちらですけども、競争激化が予想されるという、環境ではございますけども、逆に株価が下がってチャンスとなりそうなインド企業ということになりますね。
So see, competition is increasing in some of the sectors in India, and that we think is actually presenting us with good opportunities. There are some high quality businesses in India where we are seeing that investors are getting afraid of this new competition coming in, and that's making their stock prices go down. And that gives us a chance. We are long-term investors in these high quality businesses in India, always looking for opportunities like this to buy these stock prices for cheap. And that's what it looks like today.
まさにピンチをチャンスと捉える、インド企業ということですね。はい。それでは、4つの分野のうちの1つ目であります、金融について詳しくお願いいたします。
Sure. So some interesting themes that we are looking at in India, they are financials, consumers, healthcare, and IT services. I'll talk about the financial sector first. So what is happening in India is that Indians are big savers. The savings rate is like 30%, but more of these savings are going into physical assets historically, things like property and gold. And of late that has been changing. So people are putting more and more money into bank deposits, mutual funds, and insurance. So as you can see in these numbers here, the bank deposits have grown multifold. The mutual fund assets have grown multifold. This is like huge numbers now. Okay. And still the penetration levels are low compared to the rest of the world, which means that while this industry has gained scale, there's much more room to grow even further.
よくわかりました。それではこちらの金融の具体的な銘柄については教えてください。
Sure. So one of the stocks that we are investors in is ICICI Bank. This is the second largest private bank in India. And it is not just a bank. It actually owns some of the best businesses in asset management, insurance, as well as broking. This bank has a very customer-centric approach and very disciplined way of managing business. And that's how they're able to make ROEs of 17 to 18% and growing at more than 15% rate. Now, interestingly, this bank was not this good 10 years back, but it became better after a CEO change happened in 2018, who transformed the culture of the bank. And we were keeping it on our radar and waiting for the right price to enter, which fortunately happened for us post-COVID struck. So in March 2020, the stock price went down a lot, and that's when we invested into it. And after that, the bank has done really well, and the stock price is up more than 4 times since then.
非常に良いパフォーマンスを上げているということでよくわかりました。続いて、2つ目はヘルスケアということでお願いいたします。
Yeah, so healthcare is a very interesting opportunity in India. While you would think that India is a very young country, still the population is very large and it is aging. And that is meaning that more and more people are getting diseases. India is already considered the diabetes capital of the world because it has about 100 million diabetes patients out there. Okay, if you think about the hospital beds in India, only 2% of them are actually owned by organized chains, which means there's a large opportunity for them to consolidate this market and grow for many years to come. So these are very interesting opportunities out there. And in India, people pay out of their own pocket when it comes to healthcare, which means they care a lot about the brand and the distribution. And therefore, the companies which are better managed and have strong brands are able to make margins which are like 30 to 40% and are growing also at about 10% rate.
そのインドの、大きな人口ということで、その具体的な恩恵を受ける銘柄について教えてください。
Sure. So one of the companies that we have held on for a very long time is Torrent Pharma. This stock we bought when we started the fund in 2012. So it's 13 years now. When we bought this stock, it was like $1 billion market cap, and now it has grown to become $13 billion. So it's 13 times in last 13 years. And why that has happened? The key reason for their success is their focus on the chronic type of medicines. They're medicines that people take for long term. And there you get the opportunity to make high margins. And it's also a faster growing business. This company is also very efficient in their operations, which means that their profitability is much higher. And finally, they're very efficient capital allocators. They have made some very successful acquisitions, which is also adding value to us.
続いて3つ目ですけども、IT サービス。インドは IT 人材が豊富と知られていますが、こちらについて教えてください。
Sure. So the third interesting theme in India is of IT services, which actually is harnessing the demographic advantage of India very well. Now, India produces the largest number of science graduates around the world. And why it is interesting is because India is also being an ex-colony of England. People know English very well. And therefore, you can combine that advantage of engineering capabilities plus with the language skills to service the global enterprises. Now, if you think about global enterprises, their technology needs are always evolving. They're always moving from one thing to another, whether it was the Y2K problem 25 years back, or moving to Oracle, then to SAP, and then moving to clouds, then building mobile apps. And now we are having the generative AI coming in. So all of these changes need help of some service companies, and which is where Indian IT companies have established a very good business. It's like a $200 billion business coming out of India. And now you see that the Gen AI spends are accelerating, which will be another leg for these companies to take advantage of the opportunity to grow even further.
まさに今話題のこの生成 AI ですね。この生成 AI に関連して恩恵を受けるインド企業について教えていただけますでしょうか。
Sure. So one of the stocks that we have recently invested in is Hexaware. Now, this is an Indian IT services company which has anyway been doing well in terms of their growth in sales and profits. And of late, they have launched this agentic AI product that is called RapidX. Now, this is a very interesting product because what it does is it looks at your code and then tries to figure out what is the business logic behind that code. Call it kind of reverse engineering. And why that is useful is that many of the global enterprises have this codes written maybe 20, 30, 40 years back, and the documentation there is either lost or very improper or very outdated. And therefore, it's very difficult for people to understand that code. So this AI program is understanding that code, transforming that into a business logic, and that is helping to write a new code in a new language now. They implemented this already for British Airways, where millions of lines of such old code was transformed into a new code using this RapidX platform.
非常に世界の景気に関係なく、非常に綺麗な見方で、利益も売上も伸びているというのが分かりました。続いて、4つ目のテーマでございます。インターネットエコノミーについて教えていただけますでしょうか。
Sure. So internet economy is very interesting. India is a little bit late to this party. Already internet commerce has established itself in many parts of the world. And India is starting to grow now. We believe it will become almost $1 trillion internet economy by the end of this decade. So there are many interesting opportunities coming up there. One of the ones that we are focused upon is on the quick commerce side. And that's a unique development in India where groceries are being delivered from what we call as the dark stores in India. What are dark stores? Essentially, these are stores where you and me cannot go and shop, but these are more like warehouses in some side alley from which deliveries are happening. So what happens is a customer can place an order using an app, and within about 15-20 minutes, the order would be at his doorstep. So that is such an amazing proposition that is just changing the consumer habits in India of how they buy groceries. So these businesses are really rapidly expanding, growing at more than 100% year over year. And already we are seeing that there are some winners emerging in this space that we can take advantage of.
今後、かなりこの高い成長が期待される、インターネットエコノミーということになってこようかと思いますが、その具体的な銘柄について教えてください。
Sure. So one of the companies that we're investors in is called Eternal. Now this is already the largest food delivery company of India, and they're also running the largest quick commerce business in India. These are called Zomato and Blinkit respectively. Blinkit is, as I mentioned, it's a very interesting proposition for consumers. They're operating more than 1,000 dark stores in the country now. So they are servicing many urban customers. And this business is rapidly growing at more than 100%. We think that this company has the potential to become the largest retailer in India as they're expanding their services, not just from groceries, but also to other types of goods. And again, in terms of how we invested in this company, we identified this 3 years back. The stock price was actually down by 60% from its peak levels because people were worried about its near-term margins. That's when we invested because we thought it was very cheap stock even for their old food delivery business. And fast forward 3 years, now this business has done better both on food delivery as well as it has scaled up their quick commerce business. And the stock is up more than 4 times in the last 3 years.
それぞれ4つのセクターの魅力と、具体的な銘柄がよくわかりました。続いて魅力あるインド株式へのアプローチ方法について教えてください。
Okay. So I'll just bring out a quote from Warren Buffett here. He mentioned this, that the stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. And we believe that this message is actually pertinent also for Indian investors, which is that you have to think about India as a very long-term destination for investments. And if you're patient enough, then you'll make money out of that. Message is very simple, that if you have to think about India as an investment destination, you have to think about high quality companies. That would be the step one. Second is you have to wait for the right price to emerge, and that is when you invest. You build a high conviction portfolio out of that. So that would be the third step. And step 4 would simply be to keep on doing that with discipline again and again. And that is how you'll make superior returns in the Indian markets.
やはり魅力ある投資対象だからこそ、長期という視点が重要ということで、非常に、ピクテアセットマネジメントの運用哲学というのがよくわかりました。最後に、プラシャントさんから皆様にメッセージをお願いいたします。
Okay, message would be very simple, that markets being markets will be volatile, but what you have to do is what the English would say as keep calm and carry on. So I would say people who are investors in India, they should just keep calm, keep on investing money in a very disciplined manner. Every month or every quarter, just put in money, because this is an investment space where you can see the potential for compounding your money several times over in the next coming decades. So keep that long-term perspectives. Keep your eyes on the horizon, and that is how you will be great wealth creators.
プラシャントさん、詳しい説明ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
昨今のマーケットですけども、アメリカの関税政策の影響によりまして、投資環境が目まぐるしく変わっています。そのような環境だからこそ、長期の視点に立って、成長国にじっくり投資を行うということが重要ではないでしょうか。成長国への分散投資の一つとして、インド株式、中でも、積み立て投資枠で、投資ができる唯一のインド株式ファンドであるｉTrustインド株式が、有効な選択肢になるのではないかと感じました。なお、iTrustインド株式は SBI 証券で6月末まで行っておりますアクティブファンドデビューキャンペーンの対象ファンドとなっております。インデックスファンド以外、まだ買ったことないというお客様は、この機会にぜひアクティブファンドに挑戦してみてはいかがでしょうか。本動画が皆様の投資のご参考になれば幸いでございます。本日は最後までご視聴いただきましてありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。